Hi there, welcome back to True Gooner. It's been a while, but we're back here. And today's show, we're going to be talking about Arsenal's midfielders because we have so many to choose from: Aaron Ramsey, Santi Cazorla, Mesut Ozil, Jack Wilshere, Francis Coquelin, Mohamed El Nene. You can also include Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain in the mix, and now we've got Granit Xhaka. So it's a big debate on who starts. Tonight we're joined with Tom, who's been on the show before. How are you doing, Tom?
Not bad, pal, not bad. Good to be here.
And a new guest, he's a very good mate of mine. We've got Hayden. How are you, Hayden? You right?
Hi, alright. I'm good, thank you.
Okay, so what we're going to be talking about now is, first of all, who would you start at this midfield? Because we've got 8 to choose from. We'll start with you, Tom. Who would you start in that midfield?
Yeah, it's busy, isn't it? I mean, if you're talking about the midfield in particular by itself, we're looking at the two more holding players, assuming that Wenger plays the same formation this season. So you're looking at the two holders. So, I mean, Santi Cazorla for me is the best player to play next to that more deep-lying player. His creativity's unmatched in the side. I think that the consistency of passing was missed, especially when he was injured during the second half of last season. And so for me, he has to be in there unless you see someone else come in, but I can't see someone coming in that position at the moment. Obviously, Ozil starts at 10. And then it's down to the defensive midfield position where the controversies in people's opinions might come out. Obviously, we've spent £30 million on Granit Xhaka, who he's a good player. I think that a lot of people overhyped him during the Euros in some of the matches, especially the game against Poland and the game against France. He didn't impress me in particular. He was a bit dodgy in some areas. And I think people got on a bit of a hype train about him just because we'd signed him. But no, I think he can improve at the club. He's not an out-and-out defensive midfielder, so whether he actually plays that deep line role is a question. But you'll probably see him start against some of the smaller sides who we don't need to go so defensive against. But if we're playing someone like United or Chelsea or City, you might see Coquelin come in because he's much more defensively minded and much more solid and consistent in those areas.
Yeah, definitely. Hayden, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree with Santi Cazorla. You should definitely start there. I think because we've got so many, the pre-season tour will be quite interesting this year. We can see, hopefully, Wenger will play different players each game, and we can see who will be the best person to pair Santi Cazorla. I think, as Tom said, Coquelin probably would be more the tougher games like Man U, Chelsea. But I still think Xhaka, just because he captained his old club, I still think he could bring something to the team that we haven't had before.
Yeah, definitely. He also brings us leadership, and that's what we've lacked a lot over the years. All of you that actually included, well, I've only included Cazorla, Ozil, Xhaka, and Coquelin. We've also got Aaron Ramsey's having an incredible Euros. Hayden, do you think Aaron Ramsey will get a start? Would you prefer him in the middle, which I personally will? Would you prefer him on the wing? What do you think of that?
I think I'd rather see him where he's playing for Wales, which is more of an attacking midfielder, along with Ozil and probably Sanchez as well. I think we should leave the holding midfielder for more of a defensive player, to be honest.
Yeah, and Tom will come to you this bit. Also, Jack Wilshere, does he guarantee a start, or do you think he's further down the pecking order? Do you think?
No, I don't think he does. I think he's got quite of a job on him to get in the starting lineup this season, especially considering how Ramsey's performed in the Euros, and Ramsey's not even guaranteed to start either. Obviously, I think that it was a mistake, and I was wrong actually because I thought Wilshere should go to the Euros, but looking back in hindsight, I think it was a mistake that he went. He was clearly not match fit. He didn't perform to the best of his abilities that we know he has. So I think it was a mistake to take him there, and that could have an impact into the next season. I hope not. Whether he gets any more rest or he goes straight into pre-season talks. Obviously, you'll see some players like Ramsey and Ozil, I would assume, wouldn't go on the pre-season stuff because they've been playing so much in the Euros and they need a rest. And Alexis Sanchez, for that matter, as well in the Copa America.
Oh, yeah.
So, but Wilshere is a tough one because a lot of people say we should sell him. I'm partial to it, dependent on what sort of bid would come in. If City or Liverpool are going to throw 50 million at the player, I'd like, yeah, okay, take my money. but he's a different kind of midfielder that other people we have. He brings qualities that other people don't have. His directness, his incisive passing, his ability to get his final product pretty decent most of the time as well. So I don't think he starts. I think he's going to struggle to get into the team next season. But we'll have to see, because I like the guy and I think he's got a lot of quality, and Wenger's got a lot of faith in him as well. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you sum it up there. But also, you're saying that Wilshere didn't have a good Euros, you much affects him. But against Man City, he was man of the match, and he did actually play a couple of games towards the end of the last season and actually looked sharp. So, Hayden, would you come to you? Would you like starting from the bench or sometimes just ease him in, because what you don't want to also do is rush him. You don't want him going down again for another 3 months.
Well, yeah, as we know, he's injury prone. I don't think we should be wasting him for. I say wasting. I don't think we should be playing him for games that are sort of more of an easy win, because he's more of a player that could come on from the bench maybe half time and change the game completely, because he's just a different player from everyone else. They're not expecting him when their fitness is lacking. He could just come on and change the game. Yeah. I think Tom spoke about selling him. I think I would rather see, if I'm honest, Ramsey to be sold. I think he would sell for a bit more money. And I don't know, there's just something about Wilshere that he's different, and I like him. Not as a person, but as a footballer, he's a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. As a footballer, he is fantastic. And another player who we haven't mentioned yet is Mohamed El-Neni, who we bought in January. And I have to say, since he's come, he's actually been really good. Like, he got a good goal against Barcelona. He's doing well. So, do you think he stands a role, or do you think he's further down the pecking order, or would you probably think he's more beneficial for cup games? What do you reckon, Tom?
I like the guy. I think he surprised a lot of people. It irritated me when some people put out, "Oh, he's just a £6 million player," but I don't think you can judge a player too much on what they were bought for, and the amount of surprises we've seen in the league with Mahrez and the like. If you throws that opinion outside the water, so I think that he's in with a shout of starting for sure. I mean, he'll be in competition with both centre mid roles. He can play in the defensive role. Not as well as he plays the role next to the defensive midfielder. He's very consistent, very a calm passer. He's got that element of Arteta about him with his calm passing that he has. Is quite consistent and accurate. So I like the guy. In games that we need to score goals against the smaller sides, he's probably not the best bet, because you want more goals coming from midfield. So you might see the likes of Ramsey or Wilshere coming in those games, because they can bring goals from midfield, as we've seen. But El-Neni's good for those games when you need to just be calm on the pitch, keep the ball away from the opposition, and he can do that. So he's a weapon in the arsenal that I think that is going to be useful to us next season, and the depth is definitely key when you're going to try and win a title.
Yeah, definitely, because this is the thing that I've been saying about years, is squad depth, and you want competition. No player has to guarantee their position is safe, because if they know their position is safe, then they're most likely not going to play well. Well, if there's competition and they know the position's under threat, then usually you'll make them play better. Like, you can see how it affected Giroud big time. Yeah, Hayden, we'll just come to you in that bit. Who would you rather like to see start, El-Neni or Aaron Ramsey? Because El-Neni is a bit more defensive, while Ramsey...
I was going to say, I think they should be different positions, so you could see them both playing. But I was thinking that El-Neni he'd have to work for his place. He wouldn't be given it, but I think he could work for it, and he could just prove that he's worthy to be in the team, to be honest. I mean, I think he got 2 or 3 Player of the Month for Arsenal in the 6 months or so he was here. I think he's really hard working, and he understands it's not going to be given to him. Sometimes if I'm honest, Wilshere, he thinks he's just got a guaranteed place, and he obviously doesn't. But El-Neni actually works for it, and he'll fight for it.
Yeah, and of course we have Mesut Ozil, who definitely I really feel should be playing more in the centre. But do you think Wenger will keep him in the centre, or do you reckon, because he's got all these midfielders to choose from, he'll start pushing that wide again? What do you reckon, Tom?
So who's that?
Mesut Ozil.
Ozil. Yeah, see, he's a bit of a trick pony for me sometimes, because I'm a big critic of the formation that we play at Arsenal in the 4-2-3-1, because I think against some of the smaller teams it doesn't help. It's quite hard to break them down. And what you've seen at the Euros with Griezmann and Giroud playing as a two and just playing off each other, so in a more 4-2-4 in a formation, it's weird that they play, because obviously they play with two wide men, so it can go from a 4-4-2 into a 4-2-4 when they're attacking. And sometimes I wish that we could play that sort of system with the likes of, possibly you could argue that Alexis could play just off of Giroud. I argue also that Alexis' best position is on the wide right. However, playing off striker, which he does do for Chile sometimes, he can be effective, and you might get even more out of Giroud than you might lose with Sanchez. So it could be a risk worth taking. But in terms of Ozil, that means you have to sort of move him around. He'd have to be either wide left or playing centre mid, which he's not really comfortable with, or you can go with a diamond 4 behind a front 2, which he could play number 10 at, but we don't know if that would work with the other players that we have. But I can't see Wenger changing the system, so it will be 4-2-3-1, and Ozil will occupy that number 10 role, which I'm fine about, because he's got quality that'll win you matches, which is something we need. If we can bring in this fabled world-class striker, which I'm getting bored of talking about in so many ways now, but he's got the quality to find those strikers, and even Giroud. It's just, I think that Ozil's better suited for players that are more nippy, play off the shoulder of the defender with the passing types that he plays, and Giroud's not that player. He's more of a hold-up play target man, obviously. So it's probably not the best, but then when he puts a cross in the box, Giroud's the perfect man for that. So you got to weigh out the pros and cons, but Giroud and Ozil's never been a partnership that I've been fond of, but at the moment it's the best we got, and it can be effective, but I think we can do better.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, yeah. Obviously, of course, I agree we have to sign a World Cup striker to help those and the rest of the team, yeah. Hayden, we'll just come back to you. But continuing on this subject of formation, what formation would you like to see Arsenal? Would you be happy with 4-2-3-1? Would you be happy with 4-4-2? Or what formation would you like to see?
I think, obviously at the start of last season we were looking really good. And I don't think you can blame the formation for the fact we slipped. It's more just the lack of fitness and the injuries and everything that keeps going wrong. It's same old every year for Arsenal. But I think the formation 4-3-1 is actually, Arsenal know it, all the players know it, the manager knows it, of course. And if you change something up, it might be a really good decision, it might be a really bad decision. But a few times last season, in the second half especially, we saw 2 strikers up top, which might be something that Arsenal maybe could try. Because I know it looked a lot better when you had like Welbeck and Giroud both playing. Of course, Welbeck's injured, but having them both playing did look a lot different. The defence weren't expecting it, and it did look like it could create some goals.
Yeah, I see exactly what you mean. Most people have suggested 4-4-2 that we should try. Tom, do you think we should change to 4-4-2?
Yeah, it's, as I said, it's from watching Griezmann and Giroud in the Euros play so well with someone playing off Giroud. I think it's a formation that can work. I'm not from being on ABW, and our other friend Chris, who's on there, who watches a lot of French football. When Giroud was at Montpellier, he had Yunus Belhanda off him, and I think he's at Schalke now. Actually, he was at Dynamo Kiev, but he wasn't necessarily a second striker, but he was an advanced midfielder, and not the more passing type of Ozil, more of a direct player, and that worked well together. So you could see that if Alexis was played just off Giroud, you might see an improvement in his form. But it's not down to us as fans to say should we change the formation. Obviously we can speculate and it's all opinions, but I just can't see Wenger doing it. He's very loyal to his opinions and the style. Obviously people can argue that in the past he has played that with the likes of Bergkamp and Henry, that used to be the 2 up top, and Bergkamp just off Henry. But since the likes of Cesc Fabregas came to the squad and we switched to the more technical midfielders, smaller, nippier, quick passing play that we've done with those types of players when they've come in, he likes this 4-2-3-1, and I don't think he's going to change that. Just flicking from one season to another, I'd be great if he did, but I can't see it.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you there. Also, there's one other player we're going to talk about now. You could argue that his best position is in the middle or on the wing, which is Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Where do you think his best position is, Hayden? Do you think it's in the middle, or do you think it's out wide? Some people argue different.
I think his best position's in Southampton's starting lineup. No, I mean I do like him, but I don't think he should. He deserves to be in the team, to be honest. But when he does play, he can create some good chances. He's really good on the wing. I think his best position out of the two is on the wing. But if you remember a couple of seasons ago, maybe even last season, he played the odd game as centre defensive mid when we were short of players, and he actually looked really promising. I think he got man of the match in his first game playing there, and he did look different because he's obviously really rapid. He went forward a lot, but then he's got the stamina and the pace to get back as well, which was something different that we don't usually see.
Yeah. What about you, Tom? Where do you think Oxlade-Chamberlain's best position is?
It's tricky to say. I think what Wenger thinks I think Wenger sees him in the future as more of a central player. I think he's shown promise in that position because he really frustrates me, Oxlade-Chamberlain, because he has so much potential in him and so much quality that he could unlock. I mean, we've seen when he was even younger the likes of the games he's had. The first game I remember him being good in was the demolition of Blackburn, where Van Persie got a hat trick and Oxlade-Chamberlain got 2 goals. And he was excellent in that game. Then there was the second leg of the Champions League match against AC Milan, where we were 4-0 down the first leg and we won 3-0. He was brilliant in that game, and he won the penalty to make it 2-0. I think it was the time. 3-0. 3-0 at the time, and so he was good in that game. And then the most recent one where I can think he was excellent in was the Crystal Palace home match, where he scored 2 goals from centre midfield, and that's the game which I think maybe this guy could place in a more central role and do well. So I like the guy. If it was out of him and Theo, I'd definitely sell Theo. I think Ox has got so much more potential than him, and it's just got a different sort of dimension and knack to him, and his confidence when he's on form. And he's got confidence in his own game. I think he can be a world beater, but it's just getting that out of him, which is tricky. And it'd be a shame to see him go, because I know Wenger's put a lot of faith in this English core at Arsenal. And while I think we should get rid of some of it, i.e. Kieran Gibbs, for instance, I think that it's important to keep English players at the club, and Ox should be one of them.
Yeah, I agree, because Oxlade-Chamberlain was actually rumoured to be off to Leicester, but now I'm hearing Wenger is willing to give him another chance. And the same with Theo Walcott. Now he really wants to stay for Parker's go. So yeah, I'll be happy for them to stay. They have to earn their places and have to have a big impact next season if they really want to have a big future for the club. Yeah. So we've spoken about all 8 of those midfielders. We'll have a final decision from each of you. Who would you like to see in that midfield start against Liverpool on Hayden will come to you? Who would you like to see? I don't think
if everyone's fit, is this?
Yeah, I don't think Mesut Ozil will be back in time for that game because he'll be still recovering from the Euros. So I wouldn't.
Who do I realistically think will start?
Yeah,
who? You mean? Right, okay. I think we'll see Cazorla and Coquelin playing. I don't know, it's quite hard to say. Ramsey might not even be back. Because there's so many players that probably would be in my team. I mean, Sanchez won't be back either. We're going to see quite a few young players. Maybe Iwobi, maybe Campbell starting. I don't know, it's going to be a hard game against Liverpool as well, to be honest.
Definitely. It's a hard start.
I mean, hard start at the best of times, let alone when half our team are missing. Because they've just come back from their tournaments or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
What do you make of this?
In terms of the midfield at the start, I think Hayden raises some good points about who's going to be back and whatnot. I think Ramsey might be back because it's just the energy he has and the ability to recover so quickly at times. You could see him be back in time. Obviously, Wilshere left the England team rather early, so you might see him back as well. El Neni is probably a shoo-in at the moment. Same with Santi Cazorla if he's fully recovered from his injury, which is great. Xhaka also left the Euros reasonably early, but you might not see him coming because Wenger's got this typical thing of when we sign new players to bed them in slowly. Yeah. So that might occur. Alexis Sanchez is an odd one because obviously he played with an injury during the final, which he tweeted a photo of, which was quite worrying when I saw it because his ankle was all swollen up.
Yeah, someone told me about that.
And he'll be told to rest, but I'm sure he'll be running on the beach with his dog a week later. So who knows if he'll be back or not? I'm sure he'll want to play as soon as he can, but Wenger might have to learn to be a bit ruthless with him and keep him off the pitch for a bit because we don't want a repeat of what happened last season when him being rushed back again, and we're not seeing the best from him. Özil, if I was to put my money on it, I wouldn't say he's going to be back in time. He wasn't a couple of years ago, I think it was, and it makes me worry who's going to be back because you might not even see. I hope Giroud will be back in time because you're thinking now he's in the semi-final and if he's going to be back in time, and at the moment he's our main striker at the moment, so it's whether he's going to be back in time. But the midfield start, I'd probably say Santi Cazorla will probably play 10, and you might see Xhaka and either El Neni or Xhaka, because you want to be more defensive against one of the bigger sides. So Xhaka and El Neni I'd go for. But you could see Xhaka and Ramsey, you could see El Neni and Ramsey. Honestly, I couldn't put money on who I definitely think would start. Who should start? Santi at 10, Xhaka and El Neni. So, yeah, I'd go for those guys.
Yeah.
You never know if Giroud's not back, we might see Takuma, the new Japanese wonder kid, start.
We'll come on to that. Okay, we'll come on to that. We'll come on to that in a sec. Yeah, so that's the midfield debate over. Before we wrap this up, we'll just talk about this new Japanese signing, Takuma Asano. Now, I was speaking to you earlier, Tom, and I was also speaking to you, Hayden, earlier, that I wasn't too happy about it. I don't think most Gooners are, because we want to see world-class strikers signed, and we're thinking, is this typical Wenger again? I'm sure indeed. But seriously, do you think he'll go back out on loan? What do you make of this guy, Tom? Do you know anything about him?
I know next to nothing about this guy. I do go on. I am part of the Hipsters podcast, but I'm not so hipster that I watch Japanese football. So I'm not well aware. I think he's got 21 goals in something like 90-something games for the club that he was at. Obviously, at 21 years old, to be in the Japan national team is quite an achievement because even though you think of the Japanese league as not that impressive, the Japanese national team are actually quite a decent team. The likes of Kagawa and Honda and Nagatomo and people like that in the squad. So to be in the squad at 21 is decent. I'm not necessarily angry about it. I think that there was a bit of an overreaction about the signing. At the end of the day, we've got to sign players that are younger to bed through. Sometimes it's part of being a club. You can't just keep buying and buying and buying. It's about building stuff sometimes, and it's important to do that. That's why City today have signed the likes of Zinchenko from I think it's FC Ufa in Russia. He's a Ukrainian bloke who was at the Euros and he was very good when he came on to replace Kovalenko most of the time. So he's a youngster to look out for. But I'm not angry about this Takuma guy, Suno, whatever his name is. I think that I think what we're going to see is Sonogo is probably going to go, thank Christ. So so he'll probably replace this, but if he doesn't get a work permit, he'll probably go on loan, and it could be another Wellington Silva situation. So we don't know. But I wouldn't say to people, don't get angry about it. I think people have overreacted with it. I don't condone any of this wishing hate upon the club for signing this 21-year-old. I think it's a bit.
No, it's a bit
silly. No, it's silly, but. No, if you never know, those people might eat their hat if this guy comes in and both Giroud and this, if we have signed another striker get injured, he comes in, scores 20 goals. Who knows? Yeah. So you never know. It's football. Not anything can happen. So we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, definitely. I see where you're coming from, but also I was quite critical of this move, not just because of the context of things, because he's another under-21 star. Because I'm thinking, if we're going to be buying starters, I'm saying, why don't we use our own? Because I did a show not long ago on whether we should give the youth a chance, and I was saying we have to policy youngsters like John Terrell, Zelalem, Akpom, even Dan Conway, who's probably going to go out on loan again. I'm willing to give them for a chance, because John Terrell, we bought him with Hector Bellerin from Barcelona, and he was brilliant for Birmingham City last year. Chuba Akpom was a bit promising. Hayden, what do you reckon? Do you reckon we should be trying to use some of our own youngsters for a change, instead of trying to buy some from?
Well, yeah, I think I think the thing, going back to the new signing just quickly, the thing that annoyed me most, I know nothing about him. Like Tom says, he might be okay. But at the moment, it was a few days after Vardy had signed a new contract with Leicester, and I can't remember someone else. Anyway, but it was just a bit sort of shocking the way that they announced this sort of thing, like as if it was someone else that's going to fit that role that we need. But I think going back to the youth, we should give them a chance. I think in the cup games, in the Capital One Cup and the League Cup especially, and see how they perform. Look at Bellerin; he managed to get in because of Debussy's injury, and now look at him; he's probably one of the best right backs in the league. Same with Coquelin. So I think we do need to give a few of them a chance and then see how they get on.
Yeah, definitely. And Tom, what's your view on that? Do you think we should be using some of our own youngsters to essentially kind of buy some? We've got some really good youngsters.
Yeah, we do. I'm a big fan of Crowley. I've seen a bit of him. The main one for me is John Terrell. What he's done at Birmingham last season was excellent, and I'm a bit worried actually because he said if he wasn't considered for the team this year, he's going to look to move on to somewhere else, and I think that'd be a huge waste of talent if we do end up losing him. So that could be worrying. And strikers, we got like the likes of Chuba Akpom, which I think we'll probably see leave the club eventually. I don't think he's going to make any headway into the team. Iwobi shown last season that he can do a job, and he's come in. The goal against Everton was great, and he's still got a lot to learn. I think the game against West Ham showed that he gives the ball away a bit too much, and that can cost us in midfield sometimes. But he's a youngster and he's got a lot to learn. In terms of buying in players, I think it is important to do that. We've seen the likes of Christian Bielik come in from Poland, and he's a big prospect that Wenger's got a lot of hope in. People are a bit confused because he's playing at centre-back, but that's simply to toughen him up and because he's a bit slim for a defensive midfielder at the moment, and they're trying to build up some muscle and improve his physicality of his game, so that's why he's playing there. But no, this in relation to the Japanese guy, it's important to bring in and promote from the team. You have to remember that obviously Bellerin did come in from Barcelona and from the day, so we've seen someone like him come in, and then we've seen Crowley and Gibbs and Wilshere all come through like the youth from the club. So you got to make a combination of the two. Jeff Renalad's another example of someone we brought in, and the guy that came in with him, Yassine Fortune. I know that my mate Chris has got big hopes for him. And rates him very highly, so they're both two to look out for. So yeah, you got to do a combination of both to make a successful club. And I think you've seen that with the likes of Man City, using an example, with their building their massive training complex and improving their youth player facilities. It shows that if they want to be a big-time club, that's what you need to do. You need to have youth promoted from the young and also brought in. So, yeah, it's a successful club. You have a successful club has signs from both areas of that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, I see exactly what you mean. So now we're going to come briefly back onto the midfield debate. There's also this big rumour which has been lingering around, of course, and of course I'm sure you've all heard it, and it's been going on for quite a while, probably since before the summer even started, and that is N'Golo Kante. Now, I personally think he's a player that is good enough for any team. That's good enough for any team in the world. I don't say that about most people, but I think he is, and he's heavily rumoured, of course, with Arsenal, as he has been, and he's rumoured with a lot of other clubs, and here Arsene Wenger likes him a lot. Hayden, will come to you first. Because we've got all these other 8 good midfielders, would you take N'Golo Kante? Would you take it?
If you asked me that last season, and he was as good as he is now, yes. But because we've got Xhaka, we've got El Nene, we've got Wilshere back, we've got Cazorla, we've got so many players, I don't think I would take him, because it's, at the end of the day, we don't need him. We can spend the money on the transfer and the wages elsewhere. But also, it will create more of a competitive atmosphere in the squad, which may be a good thing. They're trying to fight for their place, they want it more. But at the same time, they might feel if they don't get picked that they're not wanted, and then they might get upset and maybe leave or something, which is not really what you want at a club. So I don't think I would take him now, to be honest.
How about you, Tom? Would you activate his 20 million clause and take him to Arsenal?
Yeah, sorry, Hayden. I'm going to disagree slightly. I'd take him in a second. I'd bite your arm off for him. I love the guy. His energy on the pitch is brilliant. The way he intercepts passes is great. I got a lot of stick for saying he was France's most important midfielder, and obviously people throw Pogba in my face, and quite rightly, because he's a quality player. But for me, Pogba's got a lot of issues he needs to sort out with his consistency and playing in positions he might not be completely comfortable with. You see Kante play in a 4-4-2 system for Leicester and be very successful. You've also seen him now playing in a midfield three at France, and he's been very important for them. His passing was criticised by a few. I don't see it personally, because I've gone through many stats and seen that he had the highest from 4 games in before he got his suspension. He had the highest pass completion rate in the France squads. He had the third highest average length of pass, so it shows that his passing isn't always short. He can do a range of different length passing as well, and I would bite your arm off for him. The only thing is, I think if you were to bring him, you would see someone leave. I don't think we have enough space with the amount of people we have already, and if you're going to ask me who would leave, that is a completely different debate, and right now I probably wouldn't want to put a name in.
Talk about that bit.
No. So, but yeah, I'd take him in a second. I think if you've got a chance to add quality to your side, you got to be ruthless, and other players have to fight for their place and just go for it. So yeah, and if it's buyout clause, if is this so-called 20 million, that's an absolute bargain. So yeah, all day long for me.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good answer. I'll just give you my thoughts on it in a moment. I would be entitled to get him, but I personally think we need to sort out other areas of the pitch that we need to sort out first. And then once we've done that, then we go in for him. But I think the world-class striker is much more important, and a centre-back leader is much more important. I think those two positions those two must be addressed, and also ideally I'd like another wing for him. But I'll firstly sort out the positions that we need sorting out first. And then, yes, go in for N'Golo Kante, because of course he's a great player, and as I said earlier, I think he's good enough to listen to any team. Right, so that's my view and that's our view. We're going to wrap the show up there. Thank you very much, Tom, for joining me again.
No problem, pal.
Thank you, Hayden, for coming on. Have you enjoyed
Cheers, thank you, it was good.
Right, brilliant. So, and also thanks to those who are watching. Of course, leave in the comments below who you would start in your midfield out of all the 8 midfielders. Also, let me know in the comments below, would you take N'Golo Kante or not? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up in the comments below. It really helps me out. And thanks again, Tom and Hayden. And see
Cheers,
you
Seb, thank you.
Our next show will be next week, next Monday, where we're going to rate the Arsenal players at the Euros, because the Euros will finish next week. And thanks for joining me for that. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do it now. And as always, I'll be speaking to you soon. And come on, you Reds.